back to another episode of the IBC Guys. This may be my favorite episode that we've done so far. So today, everyone's been asking, millions of people, comments, phone calls, emails. When is Mike Stevens doing his IBC story? Today is the day, and I'm stoked. So I like me some Mike Stevens. The rest of the world needs some Mike Stevens, some more Mike Stevens. So I'm excited to sit and listen. But before the co-host of honor gets on, we get to do the podcast stuff. So the IBC Guys does exist to educate people. We want you to have an understanding of what IBC is, the infinite banking concept. So if you learn about it, you feel comfortable with it, you decide that you want to move forward, we're here to help. If you don't want to, that's great. It makes us just as happy. The second reason we do this podcast is to give you tangible examples. So I'm guessing that will come out today in Mike's story. It's going to be kind of fun to watch his progression. And he's really old, so it's taken a long, long time for him to get to this point. But the third reason is to spread the word as far as we can. So I tease Mike all the time that he's famous. So lots of people probably already know this story because Mike knows, I feel like, everyone in the world already. But if there's someone that doesn't know Mike Stevens, this would be a great episode to give them. This gives another real life example, person's story of how they got to where they're at with IBC. So feel free to share it. This helps us, get awareness out. So it would be appreciated. I have an email, Dave@FamilyBakingSolutions.com. My hope, if I can ask, Mike's email is Mike@FamilyBakingSolutions.com. My hope is you would inundate his email with, "Hey, great job, loved your story, can't wait to hear more." Shoot him, like, the goal will be like 50 emails. What do you think about that, Mike? Does that sound good? No? Okay. But
Sure.
shoot him an email, give him some encouragement if you want to.
I'm going to take under 50.
Under 50? I think that's a fair
How many
guess.
people even watch these things?
Tens of thousands, Mike.
Oh, yeah. Tens
You
of
know that.
thousands. Okay.
No, we get feedback that people
under 50.
Well, we get feedback that people are listening, and that's a big encouragement. So if you're a consistent listener, thank you. If you're brand new, welcome to the IBC Guys podcast. It is not the most strictly produced production, but we're here to give information now. So you wanted to say something, Mike?
I was going to say, we really should. Like, you should send an email and just say, yep, listen to it. And
yeah, that'd be great.
I don't know how to follow it on. I mean, I look on YouTube and it's like, there's 50 people that viewed it, but lots and lots of people view it on Apple or listen to it on Apple, Spotify. What is that? Is that everything, or are we someplace else?
Yeah, those are the two platforms we had the podcast on. Yeah.
So we don't even know. Both of us, we do get people all the time saying, "Oh, listen to the podcast," and we're like, "Really? Like, how did you even know about the podcast?" But no, that would be interesting to see, like, how many people actually just listen to this podcast.
Well, we can see how many people listen. What we can't see is who it is. So we would love to
even
know.
On like Spotify and
yeah, we can look at that stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, that's that's my. I don't even know how to do that. I don't even know how to go on and look and see how many people have viewed Spotify episode.
So it could be 10,000 and you wouldn't know, right?
I would have no idea.
Yeah. It's not. It's 11,000, Mike.
But yeah, I'm sure it is.
All right. Well, in real time, if you're listening, you just heard the homework Mike and I have. We got to figure out how to get Mike access to the numbers, but we'll get that done off the episode.
I will waste time. I do want to throw. I know we're wasting time. I do. This is less of my story and more fun stuff. So
I want more of your story.
Down the rabbit hole. We had a podcast here a few episodes ago where we were discussing you and your wife and your family driving to Minnesota when we had puppies from our Bernese Mountain Dogs, and whether you could walk away without taking home a puppy. And we had said, put in the comments below whether you think, because Dave says, yes, I can, and Mike says, no shot. you're going to drive back with those 3 little kids. And we found out that the comments feature was turned
It was
off.
it was one day. It was accidentally set for kids. It's open now, but it's
Did we
been
have
turned.
any comments? Did anybody weigh in?
I can't say I've looked, but I'm sure people are saying that Dave absolutely can leave without a puppy. I'm sure that's what they're
Oh,
saying.
I'm sure.
I'm sure.
Well, obviously, it's evident how, I mean, what a professional podcast we run, where we're
Operation this
following
is.
up on all the comments and
I need to do a better job of doing that. It's jumping on, and there's people on there commenting, and it's fun to see that and to go back and connect with them. But I need to do it more consistently. So again, homework in real time. We'll get her done. But you are delaying. You're well done, Mike. We need to hear your story. So we're gonna jump into that. Stop talking about this other stuff. So I am very curious. I'm gonna sit back and listen. I don't know where you want to start in your journey. That's up to you, certainly. But I'm gonna pop in and ask questions here and there, and then we'll call it an episode. That's the plan.
well, my introduction to IBC came back in 2015. I spent let's just say, my working career in corporate America with a large company uh, in a management position, and basically retired from corporate America in 2015. Let's just leave it at that. And when I retired, I had a good friend of mine that I trusted, and basically gave him a call and said, "Hey, I got some money here. I need to, I'm pulling out of stock options and qualified plans and what have you, and I need a place to put some money." Like, thinking he was going to give me like his financial guide, good investment, blah blah blah. And he said, "You need your own family bank." And my response was exactly like everyone else's when they hear that the first time, is like, "Whoa, what? What's up? What do you mean a family bank?" I mean, just totally foreign to me.
Yeah.
And he's like, "You need to get Nelson Nash's book, Becoming Your Own Banker." And I'm like, "Okay, I'll get it. I'll get it." But like, tell me about, like, what is the family? He refused to talk to me until I read the book. He's like, "You're going to have so many questions that the book can answer. Read the
Yeah.
book, and then I'll discuss it," which he was right. There's a lot of things that are answered in that book. Nelson does a great job of laying it out with very simple examples. It's a short read. It's like a 92-page volume. I mean, it's a very readable, sit down, one evening book. And so he's like, I'm not answering any of your questions until you read that book. So right away, I wanted that book. Well, I think I got on Amazon, and I think the book was like, I mean, it's something like the book was $20 and it cost $34 to FedEx it because I wanted it yesterday.
Okay.
So I know I paid more for the FedEx than I did for the book itself. But the next day it came, and I was busy doing some other stuff. But I knew it had come, and I'm going to read this. I'm going to get started on this book tonight. So, probably whatever, 10 o'clock, my wife is going to bed, and she's like, are you coming to bed? And I'm like, "No, I'm going to stay up, and I'm going to at least knock a chapter or two out of this new book I got. I'm excited to read it." I sat down, I couldn't put it down. I read it cover to cover. Again, it's only 92 pages, but I mean, it was probably, I'd read a part and then I'd be like, "What?" And I go back and I read it again. So probably took me 4 hours to read this book. But I remember going to bed at like 2 in the morning and laying down, and I am like wide awake. Like, I could not sleep. And two reasons for that. And about 50% of it was just the excitement of, I knew just enough to know, wow, this can really benefit me. And just all the things, my mind was just racing on how this could benefit me and my family. The other 50% of the reason I'm not falling asleep at 2 a.m. was I was just ticked. And I was ticked off at the fact of, so I'm 60 now, okay? So 10 years ago, I was 50. I was ticked off at the fact that why am I just now finding out about this at 50? Why couldn't I have found out when I was 20? I've lost 30 years.
Yeah.
30 years I could have benefited from this, but I had no idea. No one told me, never heard of it before. And this has been around for decades. Just no one told me. So anyway, part anger, part excitement, but that's how I was introduced to IBC. And then, of course, read the book, called my buddy back. He had introduced me to kind of his agent slash mentor that was going to kind of, helps him walk through the banking process, setting him up with a series of policies, a banking system like we talk about. And I started with that guy. And unfortunately, that guy is no longer with us, graduated from Earth, went on to be with the Lord in heaven, and now I'm all by myself. And some other things kind of overlapped on the events, but he's no longer with us. Well, in kind of that process, I had lots of questions as far as the policy design and the mechanics of the policy. And I wanted to know anything and everything possible about how this worked. And we talk a little bit about how we're setting up the paid up additions rider along with the base and what that mix is and making sure it doesn't mech and all these things that are probably really deep in the weeds for the normal listener right now. But I was just infatuated with it. I'm a numbers guy. I was just like, I wanted to know everything I possibly could about this. Tons of videos, read every book out there. I joke with Dave all the time. There's not a becoming your own banker or a bank on yourself or an infinite banking book out there that I don't have already, and I haven't read basically. So anyway, I got as much information as I could. It still wasn't enough. So I ended up contacting the Nelson Nash Institute, Nelson Nash himself, but it was originally David Stearns. They're based out of Birmingham, Alabama. He invited me down they have a think tank every year down in Birmingham. And the think tank is basically other licensed practitioners, which is basically you have a license in the infinite banking concept. And that license, that accreditation is given from the Nelson Nash Institute. You got to go through, it's a course. It's kind of like a little master's course where it takes, it takes like 3 months to complete, and it's very, very in depth on policy design and the banking concept, et cetera, et cetera. So I was very fortunate enough to go through that process with Nelson Nash. Nelson Nash also has gone on to be with the Lord, but met him, went through that with him, his son-in-law, David Stearns, Dr. Bob Murphy, and Carlos Lara. Those were the four. They were on the board at the time, and they kind of ran the accreditation. So very fortunate enough to go through that. And I simply went through that process for the reason I just stated. I wanted to learn. I wanted the information. Had no desire whatsoever to do this as a business, quote unquote. And I really don't think of it as a business or a job, or this is like a hobby for me that I'm passionate about. I love it. But that's why I did it. And then eventually it's like, okay, well, if I'm going to do this, I wanted to set up, at this time, my sons did not, I have 4 sons. They didn't have policies at the time. So I wanted to be the guy designing, the licensed agent to design the policies for my own kids. So I got licensed as a live producer, already had the accreditation through the Nelson Nash Institute. And I basically just did it to design the policies for my boys. Did that. And then my wife comes to me and says, hey, I was talking to my brother about this. I was talking to my friend about this. I was talking to et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? Would you be willing to help them as well? And I'm like, well, sure. I mean, I already have again, I'm not doing this for the money. I'm not looking for a job. I'm doing this just, yeah, I would love to help them out. I mean, it's just fun. And that's kind of where it started. And then it has grown over these last 10 years now, I guess, into where I founded the agency of Family Banking Solutions. I'll do a little credit Yvonne Burke out of Las Vegas, Nevada, who named that, by the way. So you're welcome, Yvonne. Thank you.
She'll appreciate the shout out.
She doesn't watch this podcast. Come on.
Well, we can tell her.
Oh yeah. But no, she came up with the name and started with that, and have gotten a few agents along the way to kind of spread the word and help with the whole vision of introducing this to more and more people throughout the country. And that's kind of where it's at today. Yeah, that's kind of the boring Mike Stevens IBC story, I guess. But
It's
no,
not
it's
boring.
growing. It's growing, and I love it because I do this. I mean, we all know people that 90% of the people that I know hate their job. I mean, just they're not. Maybe that's a little strong. 90% of the people I know are going to their job for a paycheck.
There you go. Yeah.
Like if you hit the lottery, would you still go to work tomorrow? No, I'd go in and turn in my key, whatever. That's not the case with. I mean, I absolutely love this. I mean, when we set people up and get them started, does the insurance company pay us a little commission to sell their product in a whole? Yes. Okay. But that's not why I do it. I do it because I'm passionate about it. I absolutely love the concept. I truly enjoy helping people, helping families. I mean, basically breaking away from the banking cartel. And I say the banking cartel because there's a quote. Now I should have wrote this quote down but I think it was. I think it was Benjamin Franklin or Henry Ford or somebody way back in the day that said, if the American citizenry understood the banking function in the United States, there would be a revolution by morning. Simply put, people don't understand the banking function. They don't understand the Federal Reserve. They don't know that it's privately held, that the United States government doesn't own the Federal Reserve. The United States government doesn't print our money. The Federal Reserve controls the banking system, and you get into fractional reserve banking, and then the Dodd-Frank Act that was passed. I mean, all these things in the banking industry would, just blow you away. It would anger you. It angered most people. And that's not against, I have a couple of very good friends that are bankers. I just actually spoke with one last week that listens to the podcast here and now and then. He's like, dude, you talk about these evil bankers, you're talking about me. No, there's some great, great people, friends of mine in the banking industry. They provide a great service for people. But a lot of them, those things I just went through with the Federal Reserve or fractional reserve banking, they have no idea. They didn't even know that was a thing. So anyway, it's a passion of mine. I love helping families understand where they're at, understand the problem we call, like we've mentioned before, like most people have financial cancer and they don't even know it. Mm-hmm. And when people say, well, explain what you mean by that. And I tell people that on average with the American people, and this is in Nelson's book, he goes through in great detail how the average American is paying 1/3. Actually, he states it at 34.5%, but 1/3 of the income coming into your family after taxes is going to financial institutions in the form of interest. And again, the reaction I get from everyone is like, no, dude, the biggest payment I have is my mortgage. And I'm locked in at 3.25%. I got a great deal. Well, what they don't realize is that 3.25% is the rate, but the volume is closer to 70%, especially in the first 5 to 10 years of the mortgage. So if you don't believe me and you have a mortgage, go back and look on your statement, and let's say your mortgage payment is $1,000, and I'm talking just principal and interest, okay, not PITI, not taxes and insurance, just principal and interest. Let's just say if it's $1,000, that 67 to 70% of that, so 670 to $700 of that thousand that is going to the bank is in interest, because that 3.25 is on the entire principal of the mortgage. So in the banking industry, there's a saying that goes, the rate is the distraction. It's the volume. So even though of that mortgage payment, again, it doesn't have to be 1,000. I mean, maybe 1,000 or 2,000 or 5, whatever it is. But if 2/3 of that payment, 67% of that is the volume, but yet the rate is only 3.25%. That's the distraction. So when people finally sit down and realize, like, wow, that's a huge chunk. I mean, if you're paying, let's say your mortgage is $2,000 and you make $100,000 a year take home cash for your family. Well, if you're paying $2,000 mortgage payment, P&I, and you're paying 2/3 of that. So let's say that's $1,200. $1,200 a month is going in interest. That's 14,400 a year. So on 100,000, that's 14% right there of your income. 14% of your income going to the bank for your house. And then you figure in consumer debt with credit cards, and figure in car payments, and you add all those things up. I mean, it is mind-boggling. The volume of interest on a percentage basis, on an annual take-home basis, is crazy high for people. So the idea of sitting down with people and kind of educating them on, this is kind of what's going on, and some of it we're totally unaware of, and that's by design. If you're wondering, like, why don't people know about this IBC concept? Why don't people know that the Federal Reserve is not owned by the federal government? It's by design. And when people wrap their mind around that, I mean, it's a very kind of an eye-opening, awakening moment for them. And they start looking at how this IBC system can benefit their family, not only today, but generations down the road. Over time, I didn't when I started 10 years ago, but the point I'm at now, and what I really like to help clients do is, I look at this generations down. I look at this and how this is going to affect your grandkids. And you don't even have grandkids. I don't have grandkids either. Even though a couple episodes ago you mentioned I was going to be a grandpa.
You're a grandpa. You're a dog grandpa.
Having puppies, but no, I'm not a grandpa yet. I'm old, but I'm not a grandpa. But I look at it like how it's going to affect your grandkids and their kids, because this is a multi-generational financial legacy, the way that's set up. And the things that we're doing today, even though we're impacting families where they're at today and where they're going to be at 10 years from now, we're also setting things up to have an even greater impact on their kids and their grandkids and their great grandkids in the form of that legacy. So I love it. That's why I do it. I bump into people all the time, and, they ask me, people that I worked with, and they're, like, what are you doing? You're supposed to be retired and fishing. I love this. I literally do it 7 days a week. It's fun for me. It's my passion. And I think that benefits clients of mine a little bit, to know that that's really where I'm coming from. That's where my heart's at. It's not, I'm trying to, I want them to jump in and open up an IBC policy because, the insurance company is going to send me a few $100. I could care less about that. My goal is to design it to the best way possible to benefit their family And again, when you look at how these things are designed, when you design it, as you well know, Dave, when you design them that benefits the client the best from an IBC standpoint, you're just slashing your commission. Whereas if you build it where it really doesn't benefit them, it benefits you, the agent, more. I mean, they're opposite. So I build them exactly like I'd build them for my family, that I built them for my boys, uh, that benefits the client 100%. And then again, the fun, I've said before, that's kind of like building the plane and selling them the plane. The part that I really love is after they get the IBC policy or they purchase the plane, now we get to go fly it. That's what I love doing, is teaching people how to fly the plane, how to get from point A to point B on their financial destination. That sounds pretty cheesy, but I mean, it's getting there as fast as you can in this fighter jet that we've put together and they funded, and you and I have designed, and with them to meet their needs. And it's a very fun, rewarding hobby, I guess. I shouldn't say
Yeah.
hobby, because yes, I do this full time. I have an agency. I have several agents. I mean, we help a lot of people. I don't want it to sound like, I'm professional, like it's a hobby, but I say a hobby as in, this is not a job for me. This is a passionate of mine, and I absolutely love it. So I know you give out the emails every episode. Email, here's a phone number. And I have a lot of people that are friends of mine that they'll bump into me and they're like, I had a question that was a couple weeks ago. Why didn't you call me? Why didn't you shoot? I didn't want to, I know you're so busy or whatever. Call or shoot an email. I mean,
Yeah.
I would love to, we would love to have the conversation with you, be it me or be it Dave. Uh, that's what we do. That's what we love. So,
Well, to reflect back, I hear you did a great job explaining your passion for it on an individual level, and then your passion for other people to realize it as well. My question is maybe to the extent you're willing to share, but how are you using IBC in your life? Like, is that something you can share with us? Like, how are you using it?
well, I run everything I possibly can through my banking system, through my IBC policies. I have a series of policies. I think about 15. And people say, well, how do you have 15? He and his wife, and he's got 4 boys. I mean, that's 6. Well, we have multiple policies. I have 3 policies. My wife has 2 policies. Each of my boys have 2 policies. We have a few other people, nieces, a couple nieces, and so we have this system of banking policies that we use, and we run everything. We have a lot of stuff through there, not just family expenses. So people say, well, here's my household income and what runs through my checkbook, to run the household, pay for housing and food and fuel and vacations, et cetera, et cetera. But we have a few businesses in addition to this. It's less than what Dave has mentioned before on the podcast.
I don't know.
Um,
Maybe not.
but we have a few businesses that we run through as well, and that's kind of the IBC, like master's program, so to speak. I mean, we're doing these podcasts for, hopefully just entry level stuff. But when you get a policy, I mean, that's fantastic. But then when you start getting a series of policies and you start doing multiple things from an investment standpoint, from a real estate standpoint, from just normal business cash flow, using different things like LLCs owning the policy, maybe like as what you might think of as a holding company, and then lending money to another LLC, a different business. I mean, just those things. I lay awake at night thinking about those things. It's just so fun and then you get into going back to the whole financial legacy that goes generations. How all that is put together to protect you from the government, from taxes, from inflation, and kind of, well, I mean, I've had a lot of people ask about the trust. Maybe at some point I'll do an episode of how my trust is set up. So, but yeah, so those things just above financing a truck, which we talk about like all the time, it's so much more than that. And if you want a little glimpse into that, you should get the book, The Case for IBC, which is also written by Nelson Nash. And is that Carlos Lara and Dr. Bob Murphy?
Yeah, it was all three of them, correct. Yeah.
All three of them on there. So that's like Nelson's second book. They do a lot of business stuff like that in there, where they're running business expenses through there, kind of like the next level. Super fun stuff. So that's what I use. I use it for our businesses as well as our personal expense. I run everything I possibly can through there.
Well, I want to thank you for sharing. We're running out of time. I can sit and listen to Mike Stevens stories all day. But I guess I want to take the opportunity to thank you for the impact that you've had in our family's life. And I'm not going to get emotional or mushy, but IBC has really changed how we think about things and how we leverage our business. And I've shared a little bit about that on the podcast as well. But thank you for that. And it's a lot of fun to watch you work in helping other people as well. So you're ready to go do what needs to be done, to have a phone call when it needs to be had. So thank you for doing that and being kind of a leader in this IBC stuff. I love listening to you tell your story as well. Like I said, the world needs more Mike Stevens. So I got to figure out a way to get some more Mike Stevens stories out there. But we'll leave this one be for right now.
I don't know if the world needs more, Mike. Well, if the
No,
world
it does.
more
You're
of
wrong.
is-
It does. Can't change my mind on that one.
Okay.
So we'll figure a way out. But if you would, shoot Mike an email, Mike at familybankingsolutions.com. Tell him he did a great job. Tell him you want to hear more Mike Stevens stories. I could go into them. He's got some good ones. Maybe you could ask him to articulate one in an email. He'll hunt and peck and tell you one of his stories. But shoot him an email, send him a comment. I'll check the comments, do a better job. I got to check in to see if I'm winning the puppy or no puppy race. But get a hold of us, make that phone call. Mike alluded to it earlier in his discussion. Just make the phone call. We're normal dudes. If you listen to the last podcast, I messed up in the middle of the podcast. We're just a bunch of ding dongs, a couple of ding dongs, talking about IBC. We enjoy doing it. We enjoy helping people. I would argue that we're good at it. So when I say ding dongs, we're just normal dudes, but we like to write these things and help people out. So give us a call. The social media stuff is down at the bottom. My email is dave@familybanksolutions.com, 507-205-2284. You'll get a hold of one of us, texting or calling that phone number. So just give us a shout if that's something you're tempted to do, or maybe waffling, should I, shouldn't I? I'll answer the question for you. You should do it. All right, that's all I got. Mike, anything? I said like 2 words. It's my favorite podcast we've done. Just sitting back and listening. But anything else you want to say before we sign off here?
No, I want to say you are appreciated. I appreciate the comments you made. I mean, that's what brings me the joy of doing this, is knowing that, I can help people out. I can help families out. That's the job satisfaction I get from this, is knowing how you impact other people's financial lives, for sure. So I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, if you're listening, join in on that. We're happy to help. I'm nothing special. I just met Mike in Las Vegas, took me to dinner, and it's history from there. So give us a shout. Let's start talking IBC, and we'd love to help you out any way we can. All right, Mike, it's always great spending time with you. And if you're listening, we'll catch you on the next episode.